Hey everybody, and welcome back to Lindsey's Little Library. So I'm here today with 3 more book flights that I think you guys would really enjoy. What's a book flight? A book flight is a set of books, 3, 5, whatever it might be, that have a similar theme. So if you're in the mood for a certain genre, a certain theme, a certain event, these books go really well together. They have some sort of connection. So kind of like a flight of beers might be at a brewery, or a flight of margaritas might be. This is just a flight of books, just as healthy. Anyways, I have 3 of them here. So the first one I want to talk about, even though this is the last day of July, I know I'm way behind the ball on this one, but July, Christmas in July, my goal was to have this up on the 25th. It didn't really happen, but if you're thinking Christmas in July, you're wanting that Christmas little treat, or you want to save these for later, this is a really sweet book flight. First one is Ellen Hillenbrand's or Hildebrand's Winter Street series. You could do the whole series, or you could do a little bit at a time. I've read the first 2. I'm saving the other 2 for this Christmas season-ish. This takes place in Nantucket. We have our hotel owner, Kelly. He is bringing, basically, his 4 children are all grown up and all coming back, I believe, for the Christmas season to Nantucket. And he maybe walks in on his wife kissing Santa Claus, and the whole idea of having this perfect little family Christmas kind of comes crashing down, and we go from there. But it is a really sweet read. I really enjoy them. Then I have an upside down book. This is YA, which I don't read a ton of YA, but I really did enjoy this one. This is The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. This is a Christmas Carol retelling. We have Holly, who is visited by 3 ghosts to show her how her selfish and spoiled ways are not great, and to hopefully help her turn around, and she didn't. So she dies and has to become one of the ghosts. And it's so good. It's really, really sweet. I love how Cynthia took the traditional story and put her own little spin on it and was really creative with it. I really enjoyed it. And so did my mom and my sister. Like, anybody I've shared that with has liked it. And then the last one is Mr. Dickens and His Carol by Samantha Silva. This is the story, This is the story of kind of how Charles Dickens was not feeling the Christmas spirit. His newest book was an utter flop. His wife plans this very lavish holiday party, and he has visions of basically the poorhouse because of how big this party is getting, and that his book was a flop and he's not getting maybe as much as he should. So then Dickens seeks solace in his great palace of thinking, the city of London itself, and he walks around and you see where he gets his inspiration for A Christmas Carol. It is a fictional retelling. This did not happen. But I love how Samantha took a look at this and maybe wrote what could have happened. So this was really sweet as well. All right, so we do have plenty of summer left. Definitely, we better. So I have some really good summer reads that would be perfect for a day at the lake or a weekend at the lake. First one I want to talk about is Jennifer Weiner. This is The Summer Place. I haven't read this one yet, but I have read, which one? I've read a few of hers, and I love her summery settings for it. Big Summer is what I read. But this one is 22-year-old Sarah. Her stepdaughter announces her engagement to her pandemic boyfriend, and Sarah's very shocked by this, but it's already happening. Ruby has already set a date 3 months away, spoken to her actual mother, and is having the wedding at the family's beach house in Cape Cod. Sarah might be worried, but Veronica's thrilled to be bringing the family together one last time before putting the big house on the market. So I'm loving that setting. I mean, it's Cape Cod. What's better than Cape Cod, Nantucket, any place like that in the summer? So this would be a great one. If you're going for a little more creepy, we can do Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. This takes place at a camp on a lake. We have kind of 2 events happening. We have something that happened in the past and girls that have disappeared. And our main character, who is Emma, they were her bunkmates that disappeared when she was there. And so she's now being invited back to the camp, and she's going there really with this other hidden agenda to try to figure out what happened to her bunkmates when she was there as a kid. So very good, really enjoyed it. Awesome. Another one involving water. This one actually takes place on a boat a few times. This is The Girl in the Mirror by Rose Carlyle. We have twins, identical twins. One wants what the other has, and how far will she go to get that? I'm not gonna say much more. I think going into this one fairly blind is the way to do it. I feel like I had a better reading experience and enjoyed this book more because I didn't know much about it. So I'm gonna attempt to share that gift with you as well. And then go back to Sweet. Of course, Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. I also listened to this book, so audiobook or physical book, highly suggest both of them. This one follows our main character, who is Fern. Oh yeah, how could I forget it's Fern? She has wasted way too much of her adult life thinking about Will Baxter. Who was supposed to meet her back in the day and never really showed up. And so it was one she fell in love with when she was at the lake. Her mother runs kind of a resort or a camp, I guess, a lakeside resort. And Fern met Will at that time when she was younger and helping her mom for a summer, and they promised each other they'd show up a year later and meet again, and he didn't come. So now fast forward to the future, she is back at the lakeside resort and we go from there. It was really, really sweet. I really enjoyed this one. So once you warm yourself up reading all of those summer books and sitting outside in the glorious sunshine, you might want to cool yourself off, I don't know, through books. So the next book flight I want to talk about are books that all take place in Alaska. I have become slightly obsessed with reading books that take place in Alaska. I'm not really sure why, but I'm just loving it lately. So first one is the Simple Wild series. I've read the first 2 books for this. This is by K.A. Tucker. Follows Calla Fisher as she returns to her home in Alaska. She hasn't been there in a very long time, to kind of reunite with her father, who she hasn't spoken to in a while. Her mother ended up leaving Alaska years and years ago with her when she was a child. And didn't have the greatest things to say about Alaska. So Calla's kind of going there, trying to figure things out with her dad, and also experiencing everything Alaska has to offer. So I really enjoy these books. There's definitely some romance involved. It's so great. Jonah. Anyways, I really like them. Definitely gives you that Alaska taste. Another one, and I'm burying myself in books now. Another one I've read that's based in Alaska that you could easily read this in a day. This is The Smell of Other People's Houses by Bonnie Sue Hitchcock. This one follows 4 teenagers growing up in Alaska and how their very different lives become entangled with each other. Again, really, really quick read. I mean, we're talking maybe 220 pages. Could knock this out easily in a day, and I really enjoyed it. It was really sweet. And then a little more rougher of a read, if that's an appropriate term. We have The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. This is easily in my top 10. This is a fantastic book about a family. We have Ernst, who is a former POW, comes home from the Vietnam War and is dealing with a lot of post-war PTSD and angst, and just people who came back from Vietnam were not always greeted with open arms or given the help that they needed. So in a desperate plea to figure out how to kind of get himself back, he moves their family, so himself, his wife, and their 13-year-old daughter Lenny, to Alaska. And they move there in the summer and everything is fantastic. And then once the winter hits, you kind of get really the other side of Alaska. So I enjoyed this so much. Highly recommend this book. And then I have a couple I haven't read yet. So one, I'm sure isn't really talked about much. We have Yukon Wild. This is by Beth Johnson. This is a nonfiction book about 4 women who paddled 2,000 miles through America's last frontier. I've heard really fantastic things about this. I'm very excited to read this book, but I am absolutely judging it by its font. You know, it's just so tiny. So I want to get to it. I need to get over my fear and get to it because I've heard so many fantastic thoughts about this. This was brought up during one of our reading retreats by one of our attendees, and I want to say another person like vouched for it, and very excited. Just need to get there. And the last one I want to talk about, again, I haven't read, this is historical fiction. This is called Heartbroken Bay by Lindsey. It's based on a true story. We have 1898 Alaska is an untamed wilderness with unforgiving climate. Still is, I feel like. At the tail end of a worldwide depression, thousands of destitute people are drawn north by rumors of easy wealth coming out of the remote claims of the gold rush. Many of the pilgrims are unprepared for the hardships that await them and find nothing but a desolate landscape already pillaged by its riches by those who came before them. We follow Hannah Nelson, is a young Victorian Englishwoman, is one of the late arrivals after following her husband to a desolate glacier-racked fjord. In the company of 3 equally desperate men, she discovers that gold is only one of the desires that can consume a person's soul. So, sounds fantastic. And kind of reminds me of, was it a Gary Paulson book? Iron Wolf? Or was it a book or was it just a movie? I don't know. So those are my 3 book flights for you today. I hope you find some inspiration in some of them, and I don't know if you're like me, if you like to kind of read in groupings. I'm reading some books that are all connected with homes for unwed mothers right now, so that's an up-and-coming flight. I'll give you a little preview, which is really, really interesting. If you've read any of these, or if you're interested or you just want to chat books, comment below. Otherwise, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.